Hey guys, what's up? It's Keel Dyken. Thank you for joining my channel today. Today's video is going to be about the retro gaming community. Today I was woken up across my news feed with some very sad news that Emuparadise, a long time and running website for emulators that offered ROMs, will be shutting down and no longer offering any ROMs at all. Apparently, this is in a recent crackdown from Nintendo, stemming lawsuits to several main companies or websites providing ROMs free of charge that they're not tolerating anymore. They're no longer issuing any type of cease and desist letters, but instead they are just going to start issuing lawsuits for companies or website companies just offering ROMs free of charge. For those of you who don't know what ROMs are virtual images of your favorite classic games online that you can download for free. Uh, is it legal? Obviously, it's not entirely legal unless you own a copy of the game, but it allows you to relive your old childhood memories. So, for example, I believe the Nintendo library is a little bit over 800 games or so that you can get or re-download. Obviously, they've released some of them on the new NES Classic and SNES Classic, but the within past recent years, the retro gaming community has been growing larger, more popular. And honestly, if it wasn't for the retro gaming community, Nintendo, Sega, and a lot of these other companies wouldn't be putting out the systems they are now. I know in my area there's about three or four local retro gaming stores, and honestly, they wouldn't survive if the retro gaming community didn't keep these games alive. Just a little bit of history. uh, the retro gaming community has been around, or emulations and emulators, they've been around now for about maybe years 2000, maybe a little bit before then. But my first experiences with retro gaming and whatnot, when people started backing them up, was on the original Xbox console. When people started modding the original Xbox, which came out back in the early 2000s, you could put customized lights on there. You could put your entire Nintendo library, Super Nintendo library, all on the hard drive of the console. So this isn't something new, and I believe Emu Paradise has been around, which is actually one of the largest companies out there. They've been around for a number of years. They've been around at least almost 20 years or so. But I don't know. What do you guys think out there about Nintendo suing people who obviously want to pay for the games, but they aren't making their entire library available to the general public? From my personal standpoint, uh, let me say this: I'm a huge advocate for copyrights, trademarks, respecting companies' trademarks, and copyright potential. But the games that are available are older. I mean, they're old. They're over 30 years old. And the only value that it has to anybody right now is the retro gaming community. You can't put a retro gaming system in the store like GameStop and sell it for the same price as you would a used Xbox 360. Obviously, we know that Xbox 360s, uh, you could get them at GameStop used for at least $60. So you can't resell it as you would a new console. And the only value that any of these ROMs have, or the Nintendo library, so to speak. And of course, when I say Nintendo, I'm also speaking about Atari, and of course, Sega Genesis. Uh, there's a few older consoles. We won't go too far into Xbox right now because Xbox is usually isn't emulated too well because of all of the specs that's required to run it. But specifically Atari, Nintendo, and whatnot. But more or less importantly right now, Nintendo, because they're the ones issuing these lawsuits. The retro gaming community is the one that determines the price of these consoles, these units. Um, if we weren't around to fully support it, then what value would they really have? And again, this isn't a question of whether it's legal or not for people to download it, but people want to relive their old childhood memories. That's what people want to do. And for NES or Nintendo to put out a crappy product such as the Nintendo Classic and SNES Classic with only about 30 games out of their entire library, personally, I feel it's doing a disservice to the community. Um, you, you know, uh, I don't like what they're doing. You know, a lot of people don't because they've already profited from their original games, their original game sales. And me personally, I know back in what was that 2007 when the Wii first came out, I was hopeful that they would release a lot of the Nintendo games on the Nintendo Wii. Open up the library for downloads, the digital downloads. Maybe get some of the old games like Contra and so forth. Uh, that hasn't been around for years. And a lot of it was promising too, even with the Xbox Live Marketplace when they allowed you to re-download the some of the Dragon, not Dragon, but Double Dragon games. Of course, they were revamped and whatnot, but it brought back a little bit of memories. So there it is. I mean, Nintendo is. I mean, I personally don't like what they're doing, paying lawyers $400 and some an hour, give or take, to go after the gaming community when they could have had a better business practice themselves as far as how they would release a lot of their old games. And another side story too. We actually have a friend of the family. I think she's about maybe 17 years old, and she was working at a retro gaming store. And she recently had to quit. She was working her way through high school, but she quit because of the amount of pressure the owner was putting on her and the other sales associates there, her other coworkers, to be profitable. And again, this is a hobby for people to relive their pastime, to bring back their positive enjoyment that they had when they were a kid, or um, their favorite games and whatnot. And I just think that some of these business practices, along with Nintendo, with some of these retro gaming stores, is that they're trying to make a profit off of a hobby that is a pastime. And so she had to quit that job simply because uh, they wanted to give them quotas for them to sell more. And honestly, in this kind of market, how can you really make a profit or sell more and compete with Xbox One, PlayStations, and other gaming consoles, or I'd say at least the Xbox 360 because you could get one of those used. I mean, that system is barely about a little over 10 years old, and it has a lot of features on there that you're not going to get with some of the old retro consoles. But honestly, how do you have a store and promote making a profit and selling units for $200 a piece, $150 a piece, when you could go get a used Xbox 360 for $60 or less? And the only people I could say again, the main cabinet builders on Facebook, Retro Gaming 101, and obviously all the other retro gamers out there playing these older games are the only ones keeping this hobby or way a lifestyle alive. So I just wanted to know some of your thoughts about that. Guys, please subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment below. Um, I actually have Kisses here with me. And so, Kisses, tell me a little bit about what do you think about all of this? You have people out there who have been doing this for years. Nintendo is issuing lawsuits to companies, and they're well within their right to. That's not an argument or not. But what do you think about them suing websites that host ROMs and people really just trying to relive their pastime?
Well, to me, I think growing up with all, like Atari, Super Mario, Duck Hunt, and much, much more, you know, those are our childhood. games and stuff. Those are type of the memories that, hey, we used to go to the mall and play these type of games, and and that was our enjoyment on the weekends and something to look forward to. And when I read the news and stuff, of course, it was kind of it was very devastating to hear that's all that we talked about at work. And it's kind of devastating because like they didn't give the people a choice to have a say so or say here. Um, I know that there's a lot of different views and everything about this, but the point is, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to sabotage for the people who grew up with this? And one of my coworkers and I was talking about, both of us lost our mothers, and these type of games and stuff, it has a great memories that we hold, and for them to do something like this, it's very disturbing. What
Well,
is your intake?
well, I mean, I think that the way they're going about doing it, um, I mean, as far as we know, they're not going after individuals,
They're
but
just
the
going after the
websites.
companies.
However, they tend to forget that, again, I've said it before, that the retro gaming community is the only ones that have given their libraries any current value. I mean, who would have thought 30 years ago that we would have been still playing retro games? That some of the Nintendo systems, SNES, Sega Genesis, and so forth, would still be around because as a kid growing up, we always looked for internet connectivity, better graphics, better graphics, better graphics.
Hmm.
And it's disappointing now to know that even some of the newer games and top games out there, they don't have that fun memory like we used to growing up. And so instead of Nintendo offering maybe a monthly fee for their entire library or anything of that nature, I mean, you've bought the Nintendo Wii, you had games on Xbox Live, you had the Wii U, now you have the Nintendo Switch,
Hmm.
you've had the Game Boys and everything, and honestly, now even the Game Boys could have ran the entire Nintendo library and even SNES library, just judging by the power that you have with the Raspberry Pi units. Um, I think they're personally just doing it because they see that there's a need for retro gaming because of the community, and now they want to issue the ban hammer on everybody and say, "Oh, we can make a profit off of this." Probably because nobody's buying the Nintendo Switch anyway.
Hmm.
Um, that's honestly how I feel about it. They see that there's a market value for it now,
And that's where
and
they're leading towards.
right, and that's what they're leaning towards. I don't like it. I think that there is a better business model that could have been uh, implemented instead of paying lawyers $400 to $500 an hour to go issue some lawsuits against people. Uh, they could have offered a monthly service fee. They could have introduced a newer system. And honestly, I don't care if people love the NES or Super NES Classic. Uh, Again, watch my video from the Raspberry Pi unit. You see what you get for that. The Raspberry Pi 3B Plus is $35. And of course, after you get all your little upgrades and stuff that you need to do, we'll say what, 60, maybe $100, and you can load the entire Nintendo library on that versus 30 games. I mean, really, Nintendo, 30 games. 30 games, and remember, this argument is about the entire library of Nintendo. Not all of those games were either worth playing.
Hmm.
I mean, you have a lot of crappy games out there. We're just talking about having access to your old favorite pastimes. I mean, even the movie industry releases some of their old classics out there on DVD or digital download, but Nintendo has never done that. And it's like you go out, you buy a Nintendo Wii. Let's say they release the old Mario. Then you go out and buy the Nintendo Wii U. Then they release another couple of games. It's like they want you to keep buying different systems and string you along over the course of several different consoles just to continue to make a profit off of something that they made money on years ago and continue to milk the community. And me personally, I don't like that
Mm-mm.
because again, I'm a huge advocate for consumers, for copyright holders and trademarks and whatnot, but we're individuals who just want to relive a pastime and enjoy the games.
And also passing down to generations, like, our kids, like, hey, this is what we used to play when we were your age. And the fun thing is to pass it down to our nephews, our nieces, or the kids, or whoever likes to play. Like, this is what our enjoyment was. And um,
Yeah, so I'm looking here at the Emuparadise website, and in total they have about 2,200 ROMs. None of them are there anymore. So let's actually try to click on a couple of these here. Let's go to Tetris, and I don't believe it's there anymore. I believe it's gone. I thought I saw a ROM
it's
or two
gone.
still up there. Let me try. Let's try Saturn. Let's see if any of those ROMs are there. Yeah, let's take a look here. Okay, I don't see any ROMs there. I do know from what my understanding, I've had the comment section from the owner of MU Paradise. This has been up here for a while. They're still going to offer emulators, but the ROMs will be gone. Now, there are a couple other websites that were hit, and my next concern or question is, as far as legality, is what about images? Because technically, an image is not a ROM. Yes, we do know that an image, for those of you guys who don't know what an image is, let's say, like my RetroPie device, an image is a combination of pictures, video clips from a game, plus the ROM itself, plus the image of how that computer-based operating system runs. Okay, now a ROM is just a single file game. So would images now be subjected to lawsuits just as ROMs would be? I think that might be a legal gray area considering that it's not just a ROM, even though it is comprised of the ROM. And even though when you look at an image, you don't know what ROM is on there. So, for example, if you guys don't know what images are, let's go take a look at Arcade Punks. They've been around for a number of years as well. They have their ROMs up here. Let's see if they actually have some ROMs up, and I believe they do. I believe Drew runs this website. Drew from Drew Talks. Um, it's great, great website. Good for people still running the emulators and whatnot. So we'll just wait for it to load a little bit. But here you can download images and stuff for your RetroPie devices, and they also have some of the ROMs on here as well. So again, that's going to be another legal gray area. Are they going to start suing websites that are hosting images? All right, here we
That's a
go.
very good question.
So, for example, if I wanted to download an image for my RetroPie or whatnot, this is a actual image. It's everything comprised of what the operating system or the device looks like. So, for example, right now I have my Windows 10 operating system and everything running. I have everything in a certain place, all of my system configurations and so forth. So I could save that as an image and then offer it online. So that's just can give you guys a better idea about what a image is. That's what it is. So an image is not just ROMs, it's how everything runs for that specific device, and it has everything included. So these are just some of the images you can get, or actually ROMs that you can get from Arcade Punks. Who knows if they're going to be affected or not? These are images. Obviously, all the images here that you see from these links include games too. So for those of you still looking to download ROMs and different images and whatnot, you still have them available for the time being, and we'll go from there. But guys, if you have anything to add, please subscribe to the channel. Click on the icon at the top so you can stay ahead of things. And Kisses, what do you have to say?
Yeah, we would like to get your feedback. Um, Talk to us and let us know what you guys think or what your opinions are. Hit subscribe and let us know what you guys think, and let's talk about all this.
Yeah, and thank you guys again, and Joe Phil for sharing the link, and special shout out to Retro Gaming 101 group, and also the main cabinet builders for keeping the retro gaming community alive out there. because again, if it wasn't for people like us or for you guys, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And Nintendo has a lot of the old, the good old boys to thank for keeping their company alive or even what profitable. Because nobody's buying that Switch. I mean, what is that thing? So, hope you get this is Keo Daikin with Kisses Daikin. I hope you guys all have a great night, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.